Hey there, everybody. I'm gonna take some time here and I'm gonna talk about a game that probably most of my viewers don't really care about because I've never really done many videos on it. I'm talking, of course, about the greatest vampire of time ever to grace humanity, World of Warcraft. Now, for those of you that care, you would know that World of Warcraft Legion, the next expansion, is coming out in about a month, on August the 30th, and of course the pre-patch will allow you to play Demon Hunters. If you pre-purchase the game, you can play Demon Hunters on the 9th, so I'm probably going to be doing a video on that. But I wanted to take some time and just kind of talk about the expansion that's coming to an end, Warlords of Draenor. Just because, I'm bored and I'm starting to play the game a bit more now because, Legion, though. The Burning Legion in Sargeras and fucking all that cool shit. So, but first I do want to talk about Warlords of Draenor, just kind of my thoughts on it and, kind of where I hope the game goes. I've played the game since the start. I played the game since all the way back in 2004 when it first came out. In 2004, I was like 9. Dude, I was fucking 9 in 2004. So, this game has kind of been a really, kind of a constant thing in my life. It's kind of just been there, so, I'm kind of attached, which kind of makes me sound stupid, but, But Warlords of Draenor was kind of the worst expansion I've been through, honestly. As a thing, I liked Vanilla because it was the first MMO I've ever played. If I went back and played Vanilla now, I'd probably be fucking ugh, with a lot of stuff. Especially because there's been a whole lot of quality of life changes they've made to WoW that I really, really enjoy. That just did not exist in Vanilla, and no one even thought of in Vanilla. Burning Crusade was a lot of fun. Some of the attunement shit was kind of goofy, but it was still fun. I still vividly remember raiding Karazhan with some friends, some of which I knew from school. Wrath of the Lich King. When Wrath of the Lich King came around, that was when I finally decided to start playing the game on the American servers, because in 2004 I was still in England, and I moved in 2007, but I still kept playing on the American servers because I still kept playing on the European servers because that was kind of where I knew. But Wrath of the Lich King, a whole new thing. I lost everything, and I went over to the American servers, and Wrath of the Lich King, that was like starting whole new for me. And Wrath of the Lich King is probably one of my favorites, even though it did bring a whole lot of kind of bitchiness to the player base. A lot of people got really entitled really quick, but it was all around a good expansion. Cataclysm, kind of a dip. It was really strong at the front, but then they nerfed everything to be really, really easy, and that kind of ruined it for me. But it was all around fun, even if the raids weren't all there. Mr. Pandaria, fucking loved it. I main a shaman. I main a monk, for fuck's sake. My main would not exist if not for that expansion, so I really, really like that expansion. Warlords of Draenor? It's fucking mess. It's a goddamn motherfucking mess. It's probably my least favorite expansion altogether, and I'm kind of going to go over kind of why I think that. I'm going to try and keep it as concise as possible. Basically, first up, as stupid as it is, and I understand that World of Warcraft story is stupid, because it's based off of an RTS that stole a lot from Warhammer. I understand this, but there has been some really, really good storytelling in the game. There has, and it just was not there in Draenor. And they also kind of forgot things, it seemed. For example, for some fucking reason, Gul'dan is no longer Ner'zhul's student. Basically, when in the original story, there's Ner'zhul. He is the head of the Shadow Moon clan, which is basically a clan of mystics that kind of deal with like the moon and shit. And they're like, oh shit, and they talk with the spirits. They go to Oshugun, which turns out is a Naru. Basically, Oshugun is this big thing that basically brings souls in. And it makes it, like, when you die, and if you're close to Oshugun, your soul is going to be attracted to it. So the Shadow Moon and other shamans used Oshugun to talk with the ancestors. Ner'zhul goes to Oshugun one day, and he's like, yo, what up? Where my wife at? She dead. I want to talk to my wife. Killed. And then his wife shows up, and she's like, hey, yo, man, there's some shit going on with the Draenor. You gonna have to come talk to my buddy Kill Jaden, and some shit's gonna go down. And so he goes and he talks to Kill Jaden. Kill Jaden's like, hey man, I'm gonna give you a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Fuck that shamanism shit. Pick up this warlock shit. It's what your bitch would want. And so Ner'zhul becomes the first warlock. He becomes the first warlock. He does, like, all sorts of warlocky shit. And he takes Gul'dan as his student. Gul'dan was a Shadow Moon. But for some reason, even though this is an alternate universe kind of thing, so I understand that things can be different, but the only thing that's different in this universe, like, they start when Garrosh goes back in time and fucks with it. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why does Gul'dan's age change? Why does Gul'dan's clan change? Why does Ner'zhul's ranking over Gul'dan change? Why is the Shadow Council already a thing? Like, Terrangor, Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall wasn't even part of the Shadow Council. He was the head of the Twilight's Hammer clan. Like, why was he there? Like, Cho'Gall had no reason to be there. Like, it's kind of silly. Like, all these things exist that should not exist. I understand they wanted to bring them in for nostalgia's sake, but if they wanted to do that, have Garrosh go back in time to after they've already drunk the demon blood, after the Shadow Council already exists, after Ner'zhul's already been kicked to the side and Gul'dan's been put in his place. Like, they've made all these retcons to the lore that don't really make sense, and it kind of fucks up things that happened in regarding the orcs in books that are canon. They are explicitly canon because they follow things that happen in the game. So that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me, why they would change some of this stuff. And then if they are going by the nostalgia, there's a whole other nostalgic moments that they completely, like, breezed by. Doomhammer, like, the guy who basically, like, he was the war chief of the Horde that fucked it up in the Second War. I think it was the Second War. Yeah, it was the Second War. In the Second War, Doomhammer comes through the Dark Portal again. He's like, hey, guess what, Alliance, we back, motherfuckers! And he just comes in swinging the Doomhammer and fucks shit up. Until eventually, in Blackrock Mountain, I think it's Blackrock, yeah, Blackrock Mountain, he gets basically beat the shit out of and goes to exile. Then Thrall shows up. He's the first shaman in forever, and he goes to the Frostwolf clan in the Alterac Mountains. You can tell this isn't scripted, can't you? He goes to the Frostwolves in the Alterac Mountains, and he's like, hey, yo, I want to learn how to be a shaman, though. And he learns how to be a shaman, he does all that, and then Doomhammer shows up, he's like, hey, you might actually be a good war chief. Take my sick-ass hammer. And he basically, he teaches Thrall about his people, and, like, the mistakes he made. And he gives him the weapon that is iconic to Thrall, iconic to the Horde. And in Warlords of Draenor, instead of having a moment where... Cause I played the Horde in Draenor. I played the Horde because I played the Horde... Like, I jump between Alliance and Horde every now and then, but most of the time I play Horde. Going through, I'm like, oh shit, Doomhammer's over there? Maybe we'll have a moment and we could be like, yo, Doomhammer, what good, man? I'm hard too, man, what good? Because Doomhammer fucking hates this fell shit. He always hated fell shit. He's the reason, part of the reason at least, that warlocks are looked down upon in the Horde currently. And, like, he shows up, you don't even get a fight with him. Yeah, you show up, he's like, oh look, there's Doomhammer over there, he's doing some Doomhammer shit. And then you go over, like, and literally 5 minutes later, he is literally nuked from orbit. And it's like, oh no, they killed Doomhammer, we gotta go kill Blackhand. A guy who you have never heard about, nor, oh, you've heard about him, but you didn't care about him. Because he's a fucking scrublet who dies. He dies in the fucking Second War. Like, he goes out like a bitch. Like I think he's in Blackrock Mountain with Doomhammer in the Second War, and he just gets fucking murped. He just gets fucking destroyed. And that's why his orcs are slaves to Nefarian. Like, you're that much of a bitch that you got murped, and you're enslaved to a petulant teenage dragon, who can't fucking live up to daddy. Well done, Blackrock clan. You've done really good. It's just moments like that, and they happen all through. Like, you get a moment with Duratan, and that's fucking awesome, because Duratan is Thrall's dad. You get to see kind of, like, what Thrall could have been. Like, because right now Thrall is Green Jesus, and it's kind of boring and lame. But with Duratan, you get to see kind of like a redo of Thrall. Like, he wants to unify the orcs. He doesn't want to fight the Draenor. He wants Draenor to basically be at peace. And he does it with the assistance of his friends, the other clans, his wife, Draka. And unknowingly, because Thrall never fucking tells him, like, hey, yo, I'm your son from the future. Like, Thrall, Thrall could have been Duratan, but and I feel like that was kind of Blizzard trying to do a redo of Thrall to kind of make him not so much a Green Jesus, and I think that's why in Legion he loses his elemental powers. I think they're kind of trying to humble Thrall a bit, and Duratan was kind of their attempt to kind of test the waters kind of thing with it, and that was cool. There was a whole ton of moments like that, but then they beefed it up in so many other places. It just didn't make sense. Next up, I guess, would be the raids, which would be the biggest thing I care about. They're fucking dumb. That's really it. Like, they're not memorable at all. Every single raid in Pandaria, I remember, and I remember the reason for going there. Moshigan Vaults, the entire lead up to that is, hey, yo, the Mogu are coming back. Like, we've got this big old, like, Mogu, like, vault. Maybe it's got some shit in it that'll tell us what's going on with the Mogu and all that. So you go in, you're like, okay, let's figure out what the fuck. And you fight through all these heroes of the Mogu Pass, and you get to the end, and Cho's like, I remember exactly what he said, but Cho was like, oh shit, there's some shit going on with this Thunder King dude. Like, I hope that don't come to fruition, dude. Like, it's kind of fucked. Because he was the big bad. He fucked up everything. So next up, you're like, oh shit, there's a Shah taking over Tamlong Steppes, I think it was, and he's chilling with the bug people, whose name I forget. Yeah, the Cloxy, I think it was. But so you go in and you're like, oh shit, we gotta go fuck up these bug people, yeah, and free them from the Shah, and, you know, kill their queen because she's a genocidal bitch. You go in, yeah, you kill the queen. You reinstate the proper Cloxy, who unfortunately turns out to be serving an old god, but hey, whatever. You put the correct people in charge, and then the Shah's like, hey, yo, I'm out, bitches. I'm gonna go fuck up your Terrace of Endless Springs. Laters. So he goes over to Terrace of Endless Springs, and you're like, oh shit. You go immediately over to the Terrace of Endless Springs, you save the Spirit of Water in Pandaria, you save the Dragon Spirit of Light, and do you kill them? I don't remember. And you basically, you get rid of all the Shah influence in the heart of Pandaria. Like, that basically, all the water from Terrace of Endless Springs goes down to the Valley of the Four Winds and feeds the entire fucking island. So you save the entire island right there. And that's really, really cool. You get to see all this stuff. And then Thunder King shows up. Thunder King shows up, he's like, hey, yo, I'm here to subjugate y'all again, and I brought my trolls. So you go through there, and, like, this dude is all this stuff is actively happening, and it's actively tying in. Yeah, and it's like, and you go through there, you beat the Thunder King, you're like, fucking yes, we did it, we saved the Pandaria. And then Garrosh is like, hey, motherfuckers, guess what, I found an old god. And you're like, Garrosh, don't fucking eat that old god. And Garrosh is like, I'ma eat it. He eats the old god and goes like, hey, guess what? The Horde is now evil again. Fuck you, Horde players. So then everyone teams up and fucking murps the fuck out of Garrosh. And then at the end of it, Garrosh is not dead. Yeah, and Tara and Zoo is like, hey, yo, give this bitch a trial. Because, like, you motherfuckers have fucked everything up. Like, you have set us back thousands of years. And he just pieces out and takes Garrosh to jail. And during that whole thing, you run into a bronze dragon who's like, hey, yo, bronze dragon fight, we lost all our powers, it's kind of fucked. Yeah, like, man, I hate you for doing this, but I'm gonna team up with you. And, like, that kind of leads in. And then, it's just really cool. Like, everything builds on itself. And then just like, Warlords of Draenor, the opening was strong. The dragon, the bronze dragon, who is kind of a cunt, and tricked us into actually getting all this time travel shit in the Timeless Isles. He goes into Garrosh, takes him back, grabs him, is like, okay, Garrosh, I want to get my powers over time back. Where do you want to go in history to make this happen? Because you are strong and you can do shit. And Garrosh is like, take me back to before the orcs drank the demon blood. And that leads right into Draenor, and it's fucking seamless. The most seamless fucking changeover between expansions yet. Like, honestly, I think Mr. Pandaria fucking nailed it. Like, just nailed everything, almost. The only shitty thing was that Siege of Orgrimmar lasted a little bit too long. But that's in every expansion. ICC lasted for a year, for Christ's sake. Like, I beat the Lich King, like, 12 times. Like, I have Bane of the Endless King, Bane of the Fallen King, like, 500 times. But, then Warlords of Draenor completely drops the ball. Like, I think the closest it gets is, like, you beat Nagrand, and it's like, hey, yo, we gotta go fuck up those orcs, those ogres in Heimdall. Doesn't give you a reason. It just says they're kind of working with the Horde. But you go in there, and the closest they get is Kargath is there. And Kargath has a reason to be there, because he's a pit fighter. Kargath, his whole thing is that he fought in the pits. And that's kind of his deal. So, of course he would be there. And then the rest of it, you just kill ogres. Blackrock Spire, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I forget the actual name, because that's how I don't remember a single goddamn thing from that raid. It's like, oh, go kill Blackhand. Okay, I'll go kill Blackhand. Now what? Oh, okay, you kill Blackhand. Go fucking... I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember. Oh, yeah, no, you go kill... And then it's like, oh, you kill Blackhand, have some quests in Sinan. Okay, now what? Okay, you did the quest in Sinan. Now, Gul'dan rules the Horde for some reason. And now it's just the regular Fell Horde again. Don't you remember that from Burning Crusade? Isn't that fun? Aye, yeah, now Archimonde. Oh, the King of the Demons. Oh no, you killed the King of the Demons. Well done. Now Gul'dan gets sent into the portal. Isn't that cool? Maybe he'll become another Lich King. Whoa, spooky. It's just like what happened to Ner'zhul. Ooh, like, it's fucking dumb. It's honestly fucking dumb. Like, it's just very disjointed and silly and just... oh, God. And the garrisons as well, like, believe me, I do not hate garrisons. Like, I do wish that Blizzard had either not oversold garrisons as much or fulfilled more of their promises. I mean, they told us straight up that your garrison's look would be customizable. And they gave different models. Like, they gave one of, like, a human one, and there was a night elf one, I think, at BlizzCon. I think it was at BlizzCon, but I don't know. But, like, I had the idea in my mind, like, hey, yo, I could make a fucking, like, monastery, like, a fucking, like, Pandaren monastery just somewhere in Draenor. Like, fucking just rock that shit, spread monk Buddhism kind of thing. Like, the monk shit, I fucking love the monk shit. Like, monks are my jam, dude. Like, it's the coolest thing. And then it's just like, oh, hey, you're a Pandaren monk and you believe in peace and all that shit. Have a building full of spikes. Oh, it's just like, what the fuck? And then I've also leveled Alliance characters to level 100, so I know what the Alliance one looks like. The Alliance one looks really cool. It just does not fucking fit with its surroundings at all. It's like, It's like they just took pieces of Stormwind and just dropped it in Shadowmoon Valley. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, they just, like, the Orc one kind of fits. It fits in the Frostwolf place. Like, I don't even remember the fucking place's name. That's how fucking unrememberable Draenor is. And leveling alts is going to be a pain in the ass for me going forwards. And, like, I love leveling alts. But, like, I get the feeling whenever I hit Draenor with any alts in the future, I'm going to have that moment of just, and then just level through dungeons. Like I fucking, like I do with Cataclysm. It's not very good. It's just not. But, like, the concept is solid. And I really hope it makes some kind of return. Like, in Mists of Pandaria, I really liked the farm. Like, first thing I did every day when I logged on in Pandaria was I tended to my farm, I harvested what I had planted the day before, I planted new shit, I looked for any upgrades I needed, and shit like that, and it was fun. I enjoyed doing the farm. The garrison had the same thing. It had the farm, and it also had a mine, which was really cool. I really liked being able to do my professions and like, because I dual production. I'm an alchemist and a leather worker, and I really enjoyed that. I did not need to have a gathering profession. Like, I could just, if I wanted to leather work, I could have the barn. If I wanted to alchemist, I have the garden. You know, and I really hope that does make a comeback. The missions, I think, were poorly handled. The fact that you could get a full set of 670 gear, which was high mall, like, very easily, just by grabbing those missions as they came up, was kind of goofy. I thought that was kind of goofy, and it's not very good. It's not very good on that. Like, if they'd waited until Blackrock came out to give you those missions that gave you 670s, I would probably be fine with that, because nobody wants to run high mall. Like, when Blackrock's out, I mean, I know I had trouble finding, because I have not been able to get a full tier set this whole thing. My guild fell apart in high mall, and I kind of was jumping between guilds for it. Yeah, it was not a good place for guilds. And I kept trying to get my high mall set, and I just could not do it. Like, I was a little bit on the low side for item level for Blackrock. I still went through it, and then I went through Blackrock, and I fucking nailed that shit to the ground, and then fucking, I couldn't get my tier. I could not get my tier. So I don't even know what the tier for monks looks like. I don't. I honestly don't. And then the same thing's happening with Hellfire. With Hellfire Citadel, fucking, I ain't managed to get a single piece of goddamn tier. Like, it's kind of silly. Just because, like, once you go through it, and the next raid comes out, nobody wants to fucking do it. So unless you have a guild that, like, dedicated does runs of, like, the raid and the difficulty that you are capable of doing. Like, right now, I'm set to go for Hellfire Citadel Heroic, yeah? But every single guild is doing it on Mythic. So I go and, like, hey man, I'm a little bit low, but, like, I got some heroic gear, I'm a little bit low, but I can do it. Yeah, everyone's like, nah man, fuck off. Nah man, fuck off. So then when you try and do Hellfire Citadel Heroic, yeah, you gotta pug it. And I'm on Darkspear. I'm on Darkspear Horde. Horde is the fucking minority on that server, and a lot of it is fucking stupid. So I was having trouble. I'm still having fucking trouble. But, hey, what you gonna do? But, all in all, I've kind of rambled for a bit, but Warlords of Draenor is not my favorite expansion. It is probably the worst expansion I've ever gone through, and hopefully Blizzard does well with Legion. I will make another video on Legion later on once it's actually fucking come out, because I don't want a hype train. I don't want to be on that hype train. I really don't. But so far with the class changes, for the most part, I enjoy all the class changes. bear in mind, I play Death Knight. I play a little bit of Death Knight. I play Mage. I play Monk. And a little bit of Paladin. Those are the 4 classes I play. And I enjoy the changes on them for the most part. Like, Windwalker Monk is a lot more streamlined now. Brewmaster lost its active mitigation. A lot of it is more passive based on dodge, but it works. It surprisingly works. What the active mitigation that they left us with, the Purifying and Iron Skin brews, they work. Purifying brew used to be kind of shit, but now it works really well, and you can mitigate incoming damage using Iron Skin brew. So you've got kind of like a yin and yang kind of thing. It's like, if you're prepared, you use Iron Skin brew, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna take more damage, but it will do less damage to me. You know, or like, I can take more hits, and my stagger will do more. But then if you already get hit, you've got your Purifying brew, and you're like, nah, man, didn't count, motherfucker. Like, I haven't played it in PvP yet. Like, I play a healer in PvP, but for the most part, everything looks to be good. Like, a lot of stuff has been streamlined, yes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not having to spray my fingers out over the keyboard like 2 goddamn fucking spiders is a good thing. Like, I will maintain that that's a good thing. Like, before, like, I used to have, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, like, all the way through 0 bound to all these useful abilities that I needed, and then I would have to have another fucking bar. I'd have to have my control 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 0 bound to other abilities that were useful. Like, it's nice to only need to have, like, 1 action bar now. Like, it's, like, I have so much more space for activities, you know? I don't know, like, some people may disagree. Like, I know a lot of monks were bitching and crying about having less buttons to hit, but honestly, it just makes it easier, and it means there's gonna be, hopefully, less bad players, because they don't get confused. Of course, there's always going to be the guy who's like, if I turn with mouse, how I click rend, but, you know, what you going to do, that's always going to exist. Anyway, that's me rambling for a bit. Probably not too many people's cup of teas. I don't even know what I'm going to put, because I haven't recorded anything yet, but, hey, it's whatever. I just wanted to talk about a game that I really like, and it's been part of my life for, like, fucking going on 12 years now, so, yeah. That's what I got. Oh, I did not expect to talk this long. Christ.